Good evening, folks. We are back. This is hopefully going to be Dark Tide 11, but Shiraz has just had a power cut. So, and everyone else is. Amy's not well after something happened at work. Tom has to go see relatives. Rowan is working. There's someone I'm missing, and Shiraz had a power cut. But we have Eden. We have back.
Hello.
So we're going to soldier on and see how far we can get. And the spirit of the bard, we will carry on. I'm going to have to put that there because my OBS chat for stream is not working.
I gotta love it. There's always a tech issue. There's gotta be some...
Yeah, it's not a Dark Tide stream if you've had anything close to no tech issues. But yes, we'll go with this. So we will start doing the intro, and we shall see where it goes. If we get Shiraz, brilliant. We'll run the episode properly. If we don't get Shiraz and we are beginning to struggle with just Eden and Bach, then we'll find a good place to stop and gibber. Yes.
Cool.
So, who are you? What are you? What are you playing? And to celebrate, where is it? I've closed the tab. Mother Goose Day. What is your favourite nursery rhyme? Starting with Eden.
Okay. Hello, I'm Eden. My character in Darktide is Wraith. He is a Teventa mage. He is he's a health specialist, but more towards the dead end of the spectrum. So perhaps not helping. Well, at least that's where his expertise falls. He does help people. He has witnessed a couple of horse murders. It was pretty rough. He's kind of along with this group. I don't know. I don't want to say that he's being dragged along, but I mean, they're all kind of being dragged along after a fashion, but he is certainly taken aback at the criminal activities and the general chaos that has occurred so far. Yeah, and my favourite nursery rhyme, why not Hickory Dickory Dock? Just because who doesn't like saying that?
Who is not a favourite? Who is not a fan of mice running up and down? Exactly. Alright, back.
A Norwegian rogue and taking bets on which rookie will die next. Which rookie will die next. As far as nursery rhymes, Red Riding Hood, but the original Red Riding Hood, not the Disneyfied Red Riding Hood.
Okay. Awesome. Right. I think this will fall to you, Mr. Eden, because no one else that was there is here. What happened last week?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm really on the spot today. Right.
I'm intrigued how you sum up last week and.
Yeah. Where's my notebook? 1 second. Oh God, where have I put it? It's not in arm's reach. No, panic. Can't see
Panic!
God, my memory's so diabolically bad.
I will do my best to tell you. The problem is, as I said, I write bullet points, so everything is ad-libbed, so...
Something of like, right, so I remember it ended up, there was a bar on fire. Jose walked in and set a bar on fire. He walked around being an asshole to people for the most part. My character in particular. Actually, I'm starting to remember now. Right, okay, so how could I forget? We went and we had gone to the inn, and kind of Jose wanted to go and find a fence. So he and Wraith went off together to find this fence. There was talk of fish, so Juniper and who else went with Juniper? Vincenzo went off to get fish, and then Ruth went off to get information from the local chantry to see if there was just anything pertinent to what was going on in this general area. Going to the fence, we ran into Fabricin for the first time. which were puppet-like creatures. One of them kept disappearing behind a desk. My character really couldn't figure that shit out. And at the same time, Jose was kind of very, very intent on selling this stuff and progressing down the criminal path, to the point of punching my character in the stomach for daring to kind of interject into proceedings. And he went on to kind of take on a job where we were going to take down a rival called Andre, who was apparently messing with the fabric in some way, shape or form. I don't think we ever really got a really clear picture of exactly what he'd done. He was just a bad man. He was evil as far as they were concerned, and that was that. So we ended up, through a variety of happenstances, combining forces again, rejoining the team, finding Jose. Well, we kind of bumped into Andre, actually, in his place. I'm trying to think of how exactly that started. It was like
he wandered in and picked Ruth up and said, "Come, friend, we go drink." And he carried Ruth upstairs, and Ruth was not happy with this. He was very angry.
We'd gone to the dodgy bar, where outside there were people of the night, and yes, on the inside, Andre had scooped up Ruth, and then quite soon afterwards scooped up my character, Wraith, and it was just like charging along with each character in his arms, being like, we will drink, we will be friends. And our characters weren't that into it. So we kind of got taken up to the room. Jose came in. We used a bunch of magic on Andre to put him in place, ran away, ran down the road as fast as we could, Wraith and Ruth. Everybody else kind of behind, like, in some respects being like, what's going on, but at the same time, massive charging Andre coming after them. Took them all the way back to the Fabricant's place, and then all hell got let loose, and Andre kind of got paralyzed and got a knife thrown in his back and thrown to the ground, and I think quite brutally killed, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Yep.
I think that's just about where we were.
Basically, yeah. My memories of last week are Tom determining to shout, "I need to find a fence, I need to find a fence," and every fabricant within 50 meters was trying to, buy in stockpiles of fences to sell him, because that joke is one that will never die. Apart from that, I think everything else was explained. Alright, well, there's no Shiraz still. So, let's, fuck it, we'll do it live. Let's just carry on then. So, just before we start, is my fan coming through the microphone too loudly? If I don't talk, you can probably hear it.
I can't hear a fan.
That's fine. Alright. As long as it's not too bad. I'm sure chat will tell me if it's too bad. Right, so you all return to the sort of house you were all staying in. I think let's just think of reasons why no one is there at the moment. Ruth has still locked himself up with the bathtub, because that's what they do. What's Tom's character called? Jose is away, still trying to find someone to buy his stuff off him. Or no, was he still doing his swapsies? Actually, that he was doing. He was like swapping his stuff for some prawns, and then prawns for something, and then he ended up with a chair. Yeah, he's still doing his swapsies, whatever he was after. We can do that. It's happening during that point. Vincenzo's off writing about something. Hopefully, he will make an entrance at some point. Juniper, let's just say Juniper is wherever cats are. They just go somewhere to sleep. So, do we do a one person, two person run? Fuck it, we'll do it live. So, at this point, I've forgotten the name of him. 1 second, what's the name of your dwarf contract? The one at the start. I should know this, because I've used them several times, and my memory is terrible. Yevon. So, at this point, Yevon comes to the two of you and goes, "Hey, Tristan, I need you to take yon mage here. I need you to go and find the local mage. He's not been responding to contacts, and we need to have a big meeting about what's going on. There's lots of strange shit going on in this town.
I look to see how Wraith is reacting to it.
Wraith has got a raised eyebrow. Just, What business is this with mages?
Right, well, there's a local mage, and magic is something quite terrifying for dwarves because we don't really have it. But you understand magic, so it's brilliant. So you go with Tristan. Tristan knows exactly what he's doing. The two of you go speak to this mage and get him to come down in the meeting because he's not responded to any sort of call so far. But there's no answer at his house, so he is there. We can see he's there. If you look up there and he points through the window, you see this quite weird-looking, dilapidated lighthouse on the top of a cliff. He goes, he lives in there. If you go up there and you find him, then we can get this meeting sorted and we can start talking about what's going on.
Oh, certainly. I will try my utmost to persuade them. Have you any idea why they're not willing to come down, or are they not responding at all?
I would just say grumpy humans, but what do I know?
Well, there's nothing wrong with humans. Wraith looks at Tristan, both being humans, and kind of...
Alright. Yes, well, if you can go and sort him out, that'd be great. And if you see Vincenzo on the way, drag him along with you, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure where he is right now, but yes, certainly. Well, Tristan, are you prepared?
Yep, all set.
Alright. Well, you head out and you head up round towards this weird lighthouse. Just need that up. Alright, so you head up towards this lighthouse, and as you get about maybe 25 metres away, it seems there's something very strange in the air. There's like a sense of residual magic. And you look around, and the plants in the garden, some of them seem to be quite larger than you'd expect. They look a lot more... There's just a very strange look about them. They look for a lot more like thickened and a lot more just basically it's like it doesn't look like your normal small everyday plants. They look bigger, the thorns in them look sharper. Yeah, they just looks like the garden is, it's not even overgrown, it's just a lot bigger than you're expecting.
Okay. What's the time of day and weather like?
Well, ever since you've got the weather stone, it's always stayed the same sort of cloudy cloudy content weather.
Is it fair to say, like, is it because different people have touched the Weatherstone? Like, I guess you can't necessarily answer this directly, but it seems like maybe the mood of a person or the general tone of a person could dictate the way that the stone is making things react, and that this being in Wraith's possession is kind of bringing a general gloom.
He's bringing a nice sense of gloom to everywhere he goes, an unending gloom of the weather.
He certainly doesn't like bright light, so this is fine with him. Anyway, noting the plants and kind of crouching down to sort of grab one of the leaves and check the quality, and these things are very healthy. Must be a very fertile land around these parts. Well, perhaps we should check the interior of this building. If this mage is in here, well, let's make our presence known at least.
Okay.
Would you do the honours of knocking the door? As the representative of the Grey Wardens, I feel it's best that you go first.
Knocking the door or knocking the door off?
Oh, simply knocking on the door.
Like,
I don't see presence barging in. Well, at least at first.
First, just a knocks.
Alright. So you knock on the door. The door just slowly, the door just sort of slowly opens, and as you look around confused, you notice on your feet next to the door seems to be a doll, and next to them seems to be a large pitchfork.
kind of doll are we talking about here?
It's what looks like some sort of very... It's kind of your standard cloth doll, but it seems to be wearing a set of overalls, kind of like dungarees, but more kind of like sort of working stuff. But yeah, it's kind of cloth doll wearing sort of dungaree style thing next to this massive pitchfork that looks like it would be used for, you know, tilling straw and sorting plants and stuff.
Okay. Odd. And Wraith kind of peers into the room. This is a lighthouse, did you say?
Yes.
So, is it a particularly big lighthouse? Is this like a adjoining building? I've been in a couple of lighthouses, so like, is it just the tower, or is there like a living space to the side of it?
When you open the door, it looks a lot bigger inside than it did outside, and it looks to be very sort of cylindrical. And in the middle, there's a winding staircase that sort of spirals round the outside, and there seems to be doors coming off of each side. Every bit, maybe 20, 30 steps up, there's a door. Seems to lead somewhere, and you can see at least 4 doors on the way up.
On the ground floor in front of us, what's the kind of room, aside from obviously there's the staircase in the middle, but if there's space around it, is it like living space? Is there like a little kitchen space? I'm trying to get a sense of how a person lives it.
It looks very much like a sort of kind of like a sort of someone's porch, for example. It's very kind of like shoes and coats and boxes and stuff. Like it looks lived, but not regularly lived, if you know what I mean.
Okay. But not necessarily the most used part of the tower.
Yeah. What are you saying, back?
Anything? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
I bet.
You couldn't. I think we couldn't hear you the sentence before, but we can hear you now. Because yeah, it was kind of weird. It kind of cut out and then came back and then.
Fuck the internet.
That was very broken up, but I definitely understood it.
I really wish we could just send you some more internet.
Oh, finally. Download some more bandwidth.
Yep.
Well, this puts us in a little bit of a technical predicament, but I'm willing to keep going.
Yeah, let's fuck it, we're doing it live. Fuck it, come on. Let's go.
Okay, right, so continuing to look around the room then, like, you said that there were shoes and stuff. How many sets of shoes, and are they all the same size?
There looks like there's 4 or 5 pairs of various shoes. Some look like simple, quite well-worn shoes and sandals, and then there's 1 pair of what looks like more kind of like the kind of ones you'd wear if you were doing any kind of gardening. And then a sort of small section away, there's a bunch of other shoes that look all various different sizes. They look more like servant shoes.
Okay. And is there any sense of movement at all in the space that we're in?
No.
Well, looks abandoned to my eye, but certainly there were people here once, or at least quite recently. Perhaps they're up in the tower. Shall we investigate?
Hard to poke around.
Alright.
Sam wants to know if there's any alcohol in sight anywhere.
Alcohol in sight? I don't think there is. You look around, there's no... Apart from maybe some sort of kerosene and the 1 lamp that's burning on the wall, there doesn't seem to be any obvious alcohol.
That's some strong alcoholism if you're willing to go for the lamp oil.
He's not there.
Alright. So, as you get to the bottom of the stairs, you notice there is quite a large mat with the words "Wipe your feet" emblazoned on it. What do you want to do?
Wraith does so. He kind of like he's a fairly polite sort, generally speaking. So he dutifully gives a little foot shrug or shuffle even, and yeah.
Okay.
So I'm assuming something's been said. We can hear it.
Oh, okay. Right. So you
It's
sorry.
I feel so bad because I know, like,
Yeah, yeah.
right now. Oh no.
Okay, okay, right.
Eh,
all we're getting is syllables back. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
that's okay.
We will do our best. We will do our best to interpret. All right. So, do we just accept that we have tech gremlins this week and we just ad lib something now? Because I think I feel bad for back that they can't really say anything, but equally the sort of pauses between me and Eden speaking is getting ridiculous. All right. All right. You know what? We'll just if we get Shiraz turn up, we'll maybe cut back to the episode. But for now, we'll just give her ideas and stuff. So apologies if you were expecting a full episode. As I said, everyone just has had. Literally, we can't go a week without someone being injured and someone's PC either exploding or dying. Hopefully, we'll be back to normal as next week. But until then, let's just do a FAQ and AMA. So if you want to ask anything about Dark Tide, please put it in chat. We'll answer the best we can. So we'll just start with Eden. Eden, is there anything you want to know about Dark Tide, the universe, the engine, anything like that?
Blood magic.
Blood magic. What about
Now,
it?
in the character generation stuff that we got,
Yes.
there wasn't really any kind of detail about how that's intended to work here. Where in Dragon Age, the games is kind of like its own class of magic, as it were.
Well, my understanding from Dragon Age is that the blood magic is basically strengthens any magic you already have. So basically, it would be a case of you cast, and if you say, "I'm going to cast this," and I go, "All right, okay," and then you say, "I'm also going to like slash myself open" or something like that. So you've got blood there, or slash someone so there's blood in the general vicinity. That's how you would sort of use blood magic to strengthen a spell or something. Or if you want to do something and you say, it's kind of a sort of, I don't really want, it's sort of unwritten thing because you can't really say, yeah, stab someone and you can use stronger magic, because that just, you've seen Jose. But yeah, if you want to kind of use the sort of blood magic stuff, it's literally just going to be, you have to either have blood yourself by like stabbing yourself, cutting yourself, that kind of thing, or have blood from a nearby source, sacrificing someone, that kind of. Because
it's interesting as a technical choice in terms of like if I ever get cut or somebody's really on top of Wraith, like it's a last ditch option to be like, right, you wounded me, but that was a bad idea. Now I'm going to unleash the true power.
As far as I understand in Dragon Age, the way, well, I don't know how the RPG book does it because I've not properly read the section on blood magic, because I struggle to read books that are PDF format. I can't stare at a screen and read through. I need to have the physical book in my hand, and even then, because of my mental state, I can't really read as for long periods. But my understanding from the game, at least, was it was a sort of unspoken thing, and when you do get it, you only get like little bits from it, but you see later on random characters just stabbing themselves, and immediately the blood spurt comes out, and then immediately their spells are a lot more powerful. There's demons wobbling about. So I thought we'd probably go closer with that than what you see rather than what is actually in the engine, because the engine just seemed to be this. It seems to. I don't think for something when you've got like wild magic or this kind of stuff, you should formalize it by just saying, "Oh, it's just like this. It's exactly the same as every other magic," because it shouldn't be, because it's all about, you know, the mysterious and the evil and the corruption and all that stuff.
Interesting, because it's sort of like my mind, and I suppose maybe this is your choice to answer it or not, but like if you were to use blood magic to enhance healing magic, and you say you cut yourself and then you go, right, I'm going to heal myself with enhanced healing because of this blood magic, there's a kind of like, where does the balance fall on that in terms of like, so I guess because of the way the healing works, where you're going to get healed at the end of the turn, taking damage initially would mean that I suppose you're already in a situation where you need to heal more on top.
Yeah.
So maybe you heal yourself a little bit more, or you use the bloods, and then maybe that does a little bit of damage, and then you get enhanced healing at the end. I guess the balance falls where the enemy could hit you during that time.
Yeah,
Thinking there.
there is that as well. I mean, one of the reasons why we do healing fires like one turn after in most of the RPGs I do is because I've been in enough D&D games where it's like, something smacks you and you just go heal, then next turn you're just going heal. It just kind of, yes, I know it's all small actions, big actions, all that kind of stuff, but I just felt that the sort of preemptive style of you need a heal and it doesn't just heal you immediately. Kind of like, I mean, I always reference that what they did in Dark Souls 2, for example, with the whole you heal, but you heal slower over time rather than immediately shunk, because you shouldn't just have immediate back to full, because it doesn't account for especially because what's it they said around us? Is it like around us like half a second, 3 seconds, something like that, around a combat?
3 seconds, I think, is the typical kind of like that's around.
Yeah. So
that's the character's action time, I guess.
Yeah, so it's something like, if that's going to be 3 seconds to heal, then that 3 seconds to heal would be a lot more realistic than instant snap fingers, be back to full. So yeah.
I mean, thinking about representations of quick healing in media and stuff, even like a character like Wolverine isn't just like, it happens. Yeah. Like there's a process to it.
Yeah.
Or Deadpool.
Yes, or Deadpool. Yeah. Deadpool healing over the course of, what's it, a week to regrow a leg or something like that he's got? Something weird like that, yeah.
When he's got his weird little baby legs.
So, any other questions? Any questions from chat? Anything else you want to know? Eden or back? You got anything you want to know back? I mean, I imagine you know a lot more about Dragon Age than I do, so...
That's good. What question I would ask, because I know a lot of it. You've working into the system for the group.
I think you might be better out off typing your question.
Yeah,
that, I think.
Yeah, sadly, I think you might be better typing back, because we got like the start, and then like I think a couple of words in the middle, and then a bit at the end, and it's. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't piece it together.
The round is 6 seconds, according to
6 seconds. Oh, okay. I thought it was a lot shorter than that. Oh well. I suppose maybe we're used to like the weird ass systems over the years.
Yeah, having listened to Plummet and a variety of the previous ones, chaos reigns in the best way.
Yeah, I mean, Plummet was basically designed to be Descent, so it worked quite well in that regard. But it also, Plummet needed the injury table and stuff, because otherwise it just became. It became. I think you do, in a way, you do kind of need the injury table for. If you're doing fast-paced RPG, because if you do slow RPG, you can just go, you take damage, and everyone goes, alright, okay, and they go, where did you take damage? And most people just go, Whereas if you have it like, you lose an arm, you lose a finger, you lose a limb, you lose this, it builds more of a character. Like you can say, my barbarian he's lost his arm, or he's lost his leg in combat. It gives them more sort of the war stories, the history, your character's been in combat, you see all the little bits. Whereas if you just have the hit points, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really feel like it does much.
Oh yeah, the loss of limbs and everything with. Oh, your camera's gone.
My camera's gone. Oh no. Hang on. Let me
anyway,
just.
I was going to say the loss of limbs and everything in Plummet was hilarious. Fucking Tyke is the one character that comes to mind. It's just like poor Tyke. The things he went through, just bad times all round.
Yeah, my camera apparently has stopped working. Tech issues. Yay!
We did have Beck's response though. She has forgotten the question, but she was saying that she likes what you've done with the Dragon Age setting for this group.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you, Beck. Yeah, as I said, I because Amy really loves the stuff in Dragon Age. I was trying desperately to make an engine that would work as best I could with it. I've never seen that no webcam image before.
Yeah, that's a unique one. Normally Discord, so, like that's Webcams? Have you got webcam software running?
No. Well, maybe because I've got the stream running, but hang on. Can I turn it on in the stream? Maybe I can. Hang on. Let's see. Can I turn the webcam on the stream?
Truly playing the gremlins today.
1 second. I'm going to switch to the live, the one I usually use for stuff, and I'm going to copy the webcam stuff over. So I'll go over here. Where is webcam? Webcam is there.
That's on camera for now. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Right,
Back
okay,
again. So if I just paste in there. Ah, my webcam is not being picked up.
Very odd.
That's interesting.
Unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah, I think guess I'll have to. All right, well I'll I'll do that. Yeah, this week is horrifically bad for gremlins. I apologise, folks.
Is what it is. I think everybody knows what goes on with technology and fucking computers.
Yep. Oh, come on, Cap.
Not much that can go wrong. Every PC's got its own quirks. Yep. I'm waiting to find out what this one's got. My new one. There's going to be something. There's going to be some weird thing, some setting somewhere that I can't quite figure out. That's going to irritate me for the entire time that I use it.
Right, that
always happens.
So let's unplug and replug it. Has that done anything? Has it just... As I said, I've never seen that image before. 1 second, I'm just going to quickly drop the voice chat and then rejoin it to see if that helps it.
Nope. Nothing to do with OBS, because that's the OBS symbol.
It could be. Right, so we are back. I need to just... Do you know why it's not working? Because I've not popped it out there. Right,
And
okay.
stream has gone completely black.
Yep, there we go. Right. It's because I closed the voice call, and this is big on the Discord popping out Discord voice call. Right. Let me see if I can turn on camera. No, still doesn't want to do it.
It's OBS interfering somehow, because that's the OBS symbol that's coming up.
Ah, right. Okay.
I don't know what setting would be doing that.
I have no idea. I don't really want to just close my webcam and restart. Close OBS because that would stop the stream. But then again, the stream's already kind of. Oh god. Okay.
But maybe it's a car crash finish, but
Yep.
maybe this is where we call defeat.
Maybe. I mean, I can insert Gibber from here. It's just that there's no video, which kind of makes it more awkward. Maybe we should just find a video, a background of a peaceful meadow, and just put it on that, and just end with a shotgun blast.
Maybe not that far, but
Yeah. So
I'm
yeah,
just conscious of the fact that I'm now the one visual entertainment on part aspect of the stream now. And
we can make that better. There we go.
Oh, have you full screen me?
Yep. There we go.
Well, now it's extra awkward. Thanks.
Oh, hang on. I'll bring you back off this thing. Where's the...
Well, yeah. So yeah, questions and shit. If you want to keep going on that.
Yeah, if there's anyone else has more questions, we will do something with them. If not, we will, as I said, we'll just accept the car crash defeat of this week, and we will come back, hopefully somewhat stronger next time, if I can remember how to get us back to the... How do you get back to the one before? There we go. But yes, if anyone has any other questions, you're more than welcome to ask them, and we will come back to... Sorry, I've got the fucking giggles. Sorry. Yeah.
I feel like if I were to ask too much, then it runs the risk of getting into metagaming territory of because I've already done that a little bit. Let me learn things about moves so I can pull this out in front of the rest of the group and be like, haha, blood magic.
Yes, but the thing is that you've got Amy in back that will react to you using blood magic, so...
Do my best AJ as BBC broadcaster impersonation. Oh god, I don't put me on the spot. Bloody hell.
Do your best radio voice.
I don't really do like serious voices along those lines. I always do stupid voices. And now I'm sort of like, my mind is just spinning like, do a particular voice. It's always in the moment. Welcome to the 9 o'clock news. I'm Eden. It always ends up coming out somewhere. It's always Queen's English. This is where I always end up going. It's somewhere like this. I don't know.
I mean,
is that good enough for you?
I'm sure it'll do. I mean, the problem I have is I'll ad-lib all of the voices I ever do, and the problem is I forget how to do them, which you probably noticed last week when I was doing the Fabricant voice. Then halfway through I'm like, I have no idea what I was doing. I was doing a voice. I don't know whether it was but it was this one, that one, there was more tone, less tone.
It's so hard, in fairness. My voices wander. Like, Wraith and Silic is the other character that I do for Velaston, and both of them, I think, are in the same range, and they kind of overlap in places. Like, it's so difficult. I mean, I'm lazy on the Star Trek one that we're doing currently. I just do my voice, basically.
I mean,
which makes it a lot easier.
I mean, the thing with when you're not DMing, I think using your own voice is completely fine. Because when you're DMing, the problem is if you use your own voice for anyone, then people just assume you're still talking in the DM style of what's going on. Which is kind of why I fail miserably to try and get every character has a weird and wonderful voice that I'm horrendously inconsistent with.
That's fun though. You do a good job.
Yeah, thanks,
You're
man.
Right.
But yeah, I think as far as my only worry with this series so far is I don't feel I've had many Dragon Age parts to it, if you know what I mean. But the problem is that if you take Dragon Age as a setting, there is so little that's actually any different from any other RPG, except there's Darkspawn, and elves are treated like scum. That's really the entire shtick Dragon Age has. When you don't have Darkspawn and you don't have people talking about the Maker all the time, and you're just doing like you're in a normal little village, there's not really anything that makes you go, oh, that's a Dragon Age series. And that's the one thing that worries me, in case, you know, when people listen back, they go, that's not really as Dragon Age as you could do. And I'm like,
The franchise has been kind of like this weird. It's not dormant because they are working on another one, but like it's been dormant for a while, let's say, and it feels like anything I suppose is probably going to be good for the audience. And I don't think, as much as the Fabricant are like obviously like a major departure from like normal Dragon Age reality, I think generally speaking the tone and everything is within the lines of it, and that like. Nobody's coming along being like, oh, this is terrible. And even if they did, who cares about rules lawyers?
Yeah, I mean, what I found hilarious is when I looked to bring Tabaxi in, it was actually more of a faux pas to bring Tabaxi into the world of Dragon Age than it is to bring Fabricant in, which I find hilarious, because it's like you bring Muppets in and apparently everyone could just be like, yeah, that's just normal. But if you bring Tabaxi in,
cat people, no.
Yeah. So yeah, I think because of Skyrim, I think everyone's a little bit sort of confused why there's randomly cat people everywhere. But yeah, as I said, apart from the Blight, the Darkspawn, and shouting the Maker, and having a general hatred of mages, or belief all mages are wrong, from some of the population. But you get the local population, especially in small villages, that are kind of like, yeah, there's Ed, he's a magician, or he's a mage, but we don't talk about the fact he's a mage because he helps all the plants grow. You know, it's the kind of, they're very normal to this shit unless they've been demonized by the Chantry and all this stuff, so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as I said, we are kind of loosely skirting around what the Grey Wardens do. There is something that's going to be coming in a couple of weeks' time with the Port City that's relevant, and it is the sort of the plot device I came up with at the start before I even began, so hopefully when we get onto like that, it begins to start feeling a little bit more like Dragon Age, because there's a couple of things that all tie in together. But for the moment it's just going to feel like any other D&D. That was my only worry, that I did worry in case it just doesn't have the. As I said, it's just very difficult to say, oh yeah, we do a Dragon Age stream, because there's nothing Dragon Agey about it. And I tried to listen to other Dragon Age streams and said, you know, what do they do that makes them sound Dragon Agey? And the only thing they really did was just kind of, everything was slowed down and just weird. And as I said, I'm sure you know, I tend to do quite fast-paced RPG that's usually quite done in like 2 hours, rather than a lot of the slower ones.
Yeah, the way that the narrative works in the first game in particular, because that's the one that I've got the most affection for and can kind of most clearly remember, like, there aren't really any kind of like upbeat, happy stories. Everything is about slowly learning just how grim and horrible the lives of a lot of the people are, and just how awful the curses are, and the darkspawn, and like there's a lot of ways as well to, like, obviously with it being a choice-driven game, like you can fuck up so many of the quests in ways that are kind of like cruel or just nasty, and like it's not a franchise that, I suppose in later entries it does lean a little bit towards like humor here and there in its way, but I don't think that even works without us as players. Like, certainly you've got me in the mix. Like, this is my attempt at a semi-serious character, and I still can't help myself. Like, there's still moments like.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said for, like, for almost RPGs are just like, you know, you go in and you have this little adventure and stuff. And as I said before, with a lot of things we do, I'm very much about, this is you guys' story. Everything else I do is backdrop. This is you guys' story. It's your interactions. It's how you deal with it. Whatever else happens in the world really doesn't matter. It's like when we did Curse of Strahd, and we literally, like, the end fight is Strahd is fighting this majestic mage who's trying to kill him, and because the party are nowhere close to anyone that can deal with Strahd, they're fighting a giant swan. It was just that kind of, you have your fight, there's a fight going on, but that's nothing really to do with you. You're doing this. This is your story, and your story as you deal with this part. It doesn't really matter where the backdrop is, and I feel that I like keeping that with everything I do, because I think that it's much more like you guys' story. It's what you experience going through the world, dealing with, you've been recruited in the Grey Wardens, it's your, like, it's trying to find the humour in how depressing the world is. But it's that kind of camaraderie and sense of just like, you know, the world is fucked, but we've got each other kind of thing, that I feel works very well in this kind of story. Whereas if you have your standard D&D, which is just everyone wants to be an adventurer, and you're just like, you know, what do you do? What do you do? But then again, I blame that entirely on how bad my experiences, my early experiences of D&D were, when I, you know, would drag them playing 4th Ed and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm glad that all of mine experiences role-playing have been good, to be honest, because I started late in life, as it were, by comparison to a lot of you guys.
I mean, my first RPG game was when I was 19, I think it was, and we were playing Cyberpunk. I really fucking loved that, and that's kind of influenced everything from what I do from then on. Whereas I know a lot of folk that have grown up with D&D, or at least D&D elements and stuff, have probably been a lot more, you know, their focus is on a lot of different things and the stuff I do. Whereas I'm just an idiot. I'll build an engine if someone just tells me that they like something and they wanted to do something, they want to do this, that, and the other. So yeah.
You touched upon the difference there between, like, because I always played RPG games, video games.
Yeah.
Like that's where my familiarity with all the tropes. That's where I can just pick up and play any of this kind of thing, because it's sort of like I just know the mechanisms, I know all the terms and that kind of stuff from playing this other thing. And the difference being that, like, and what's particularly satisfying and fun about doing the role-playing stuff like this is that, and you touched upon it, is that, like, the narrative train tracks, you can just jump off of them at any time and jump back on. Like, everybody can figure it out together in the moment what they want to be happening tone-wise, and whether or not you're going to follow the quest truly or not. And it's kind of, I talked about it a little bit doing the Stanley Parable stream stuff, that, like, that game really kind of points towards, like, here are the avenues of, like, if you're going to be stuck on train tracks, here are where you can go, here are the destinations.
Yeah.
And that Like within true role playing and everything, like you can go anywhere. Like there is that much more power, and that like, especially when it comes to things like D&D with magic and what have you, you can get into the realms of craziness of like literally changing realms. Like, hey DM, I want to change realms. Like my character's got a dimensional shift thing, and now we've got to figure out how that works. Like that kind of shit is that's where it's really interesting.
Yeah. Sure, in chat's just saying that they were 10 or 11 when they first played D&D. If I'd had a decent friends group when I was a kid, I probably would have. But I didn't really have a proper friends group till I was like 17, 18 when I was at uni, because I didn't really gel at school very well. I had a couple of friends there, but no, they were the kind of they wouldn't be the kind of people that you'd sit down and play D&D and stuff with. But it wasn't until I went to uni that I met a couple of folk that were much more into that style.
D&D wasn't really a thing when I was a kid around where I was. Like Warhammer was like, if you were British and you were into that kind of stuff, for the most part it was like you'd go towards Warhammer.
Yeah.
And I was into that.
Yeah, I think everyone our kind of age was into Warhammer.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, it's just one of those things that it was a, if you're into any kind of fantasy, the only thing that really was an option when you didn't, there was the internet, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is today, was Warhammer. Because it was just, where else are you going to see some sort of Tolkien-esque style, and between that and 40k and stuff like that coming in. Because 40k only came out like in late 90s. 40k came out.
I'm pretty sure it started in the 80s. So I think it was the third rule set when I was playing it, which would have been around 1997, 8, 9, maybe somewhere around that era. I'm pretty sure it was 3rd edition, or maybe it was 2nd edition. It certainly wasn't the first.
1987 was 40k. I just find it hilarious when you Google Warhammer 40k and it comes up. Started in September 1987 was when the first rulebook came out, and the setup time is 5 to 20 minutes. That's a small lie there.
5 to 20 minutes to do anything in Warhammer is like, fuck off.
I just love the skills required: strategic thinking and arithmetic. Oh god.
Or pure beardiness and the ability to look at a rule set and go, there we go. There's the armor set that can't be beaten unless somebody's got a last cannon, which nobody's going to be fucking carrying around. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I first kind of got into 40k, I was talking to someone and they were like, yeah, I've got, I can't remember, was a dreadnought or something like that. I've got a dreadnought, and they were like, alright, we'll go fight against these 3 groups of troops. It's like, okay, no problem. I'll kill that guy. Which guy? That guy there. Oh, okay, he's dead. Great. Now I win. What do you mean you win? Well, no one else has got the highest ballistic skill to get through my armor. And you're like, right. Yep. So there's no point in playing anymore. I've won. And you're like, oh, okay. And that was one of the fundamental problems with Warhammer. And then they started, oh no, you can't target particular models. You have to target squads. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, and then you'd have retinues with those important characters, and there's a lot of it was squad choices right at the beginning, before the battle had even started. Your point composition, and I guess that's down to the fact that they were selling models. There's probably some kind of maths in the way that they would make a codex of like, right, to make a viable army, how much would it actually cost?
Yeah. I mean, I think Warhammer for me, like, I'd never got into the building or the painting because my nerves and my hands have been shaking since I was like 13. I've had nerve damage in my arms, but I never really got into building painting for that. But I did get into the lore really quite well, and because I love, as I said, it was one of the few, especially for like our sort of age group, it was like one of the few things that had proper lore. And yes, the internet was in its very early days, but there wasn't as much there as there is now for, I want to get into a Lord of the Rings style RPG where there's tons of stuff on the web to read and Wikipedias and all that stuff. Now there's just, back then there was just nothing. And I think that playing Warhammer was fine when it was just, you roll to hit and then they go from there. But then it became, no, roll to hit, roll to wound, then do armor saves, and you were just like, okay. And it just
rules and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and it was just, how long can we draw this out? And I remember
I painted a bit. I was never. I painted a fair bit Like, I actually had a completed Chaos Army. And the
Ooh.
campaign quality, thinking back, probably wasn't that great, but it was alright for, like, my level at age. But yeah, the lore in particular was absolutely where my interest was just like the fascinating characters. Like I loved the chaos side, and obviously all the gods and like representing different facets of like human awfulness.
Yeah,
but not in a kind of biblical sense. It was very different. It felt like it wasn't. As much as there is very much like the obvious savior thing with the emperor and that kind of analogy, is it? The actual forces of good and evil and actual interplay between the different races, things like when like I was playing when the Tau race got like introduced, and they were very inspired by kind of like anime, and they had like battle suits and all that kind of stuff, and they had a completely different like ideology to all the rest of these things, and that was another interesting factor where like each faction within Warhammer was very clearly delineated in terms like this is what they believe, this is why they believe it, here's a history of that, here's characters that represent this. Gone further and further over the years that like now I've read some of the Horus Heresy books and like they're pretty fucking good, like, and really interesting in terms of like knowing enough about Warhammer and being like, oh, so how did the Emperor end up getting fucked up and put on that throne? Let's find out. How did chaos come into the universe? And like that's a fascinating part of the backstory.
I just found it really interesting for a long time. For when they brought Warhammer in, so I remember I think I've played Warhammer. I must have been a bit younger than you when I started, because when I started, they were. I remember one of the first White Dwarfs I read. They were talking about how they were bringing in Necron models, and I was like, "Ooh, this is back when they were like just the metal ones. They weren't the plastic ones. When they were just the 5-pack of metal ones that cost you 20 quid for 5 of them, and you're like." I really like the style, but that I can't take out a mortgage to have a Necron army.
I'm pretty sure Necrons, like, the whole gimmick was, like, they're all the same unit, basically. Like, they had Necron warriors, which were, like, the ones that had
the Gauze flares,
those things, and then they had little scarabs, and then there was, like, one Necron Lord model. And
then there was immortals that were slightly bigger.
Yeah, you're right. Like, the heavy squads.
Yeah,
so
they didn't have any of the flying things or anything, but that was it. That was all you got. And there was a Necron Lord that had a staff, and that's why he was different.
You could resurrect them, and
there was no codex for them. You couldn't buy a codex for them. You couldn't get anything about them. You couldn't get any lore about them. All you could get is, here's some models, and you had to like dig and dig and dig and dig to find any information about how to use any of them. Plus they had that, if they fall over, they just roll a dice and they can come straight back up, and you're like, brilliant. But nowadays, at least when you go and try and play things, at least they've got codexes for fuck tons of everything. But the number of Warhammer books I got for free, just hilarious from someone I used to know, because literally as soon as they said, right, this chapter, this sort of season, this printing is dead, we're going to print all new books and they're all going to have like slight number changes, so all of you've got before is now irrelevant, so he just threw them all in the bin. I had to say, can I have them? And he went, yeah. And I was like, do you want anything for them? No, they're useless. I was like, okay, no problem.
That's one attitude.
Yeah, and I ended up with quite a large pile of Warhammer books over the years from him, because he literally would just, every time a new version would come out, he'd just throw them all in the bin. And I don't just mean like jokingly, I mean he actually threw them in the bin. As in the first time I got some of them, because they were like 5 of his books were in the bin. And I was like, why are the Warhammer books there? And he's like, because they're out of date now. It's like, since when? And he's like, well, the new edition came out last week, so they're all not relevant now, so I'm just going to throw them in the bin. And you're like, what?
Absolute madness.
It's
but
like
your benefit, so...
Yeah, but I was like, this is the kind of person that took care of books, didn't, getting like dog-eared and stuff like that. Nothing like everything I own is dog-eared, it's just how bad I am. But, like, this is someone that was properly pedantic about looking after how tidy and stuff they were, and he's just, no, all useless now. And you're just like, could you not sell them? Nope, worth nothing now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. It's like,
it's like if you've got enough space to sit on something like that for 10 years, it's like, nah, that'll be worth more than what you bought it for if you keep it in good condition.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the codexes from the later ones, I mean, because there's a gaming shop in Glasgow called Static. There's a lot of good stuff, a lot of board games, a lot of second-hand RPG books. if you find any old Warhammer books in there, like old codexes and stuff, literally when you go up to buy them, they go, right, you do know this is not up to date. You're like, yes. And they're like, I just have to make sure that you know. And it's like, yes, I know this is not up to date.
I tried to think of the people that have like bought some really outdated version of something and then gone into Games Workshop and just been like, right, I'm ready to go, I've got my army, and they just look at them and like, this is 15 years old, what the fuck?
Yeah. Just Sharona's comment of her husband likes to joke that if he wins a lottery he'll start playing Warhammer. I mean, a lottery win would get you a small starting army.
Yeah, you might be able to afford a Baneblade at last.
Oh god. I remember when they were, joke models rather than them actually being a thing.
Yeah. Prototype things that you'd see in an issue of White Dwarf and just be like, damn, wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible. Look at the scale of it next to the other models. And
Yeah,
then
or,
it'd be like,
or you'd see one in a glass case at your local Games Workshop and that'd be about it. And you'd be
I
like,
swear they were like £1,000 on Forge World or something.
Yeah.
Like back in the days when they just had the catalogue and there probably wasn't even a website at that point.
yeah. Just,
Ridiculous money, because it was all metal pieces at that point. Like,
yeah.
oh,
What I find hilarious is it's gone from being full metal pieces to full plastic pieces and they're still more expensive now.
well, where the economy's gone, ultimately.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't think about such things.
We shouldn't, no.
Yes.
But yeah, Warhammer's been...
Indeed.
I think if you... I mean, I know you probably couldn't, but I probably could. But if you simplified Warhammer down to literally just like 3 stats of you need to roll above this to hit and above this to save, and that's all you really needed. And if you had a certain gun, this number would move a little bit up and down. I'd probably be completely fine with Warhammer. But when it's like ballistic skill and weapon skill and stuff like that, and it's like, this is if you're in melee, this is if you're in range, this is if you've got this many wounds, this is how you get up for this is your strength, this is how you know if you're running away, this is just that there's too much here.
Yeah,
There's
video games for that level of complexity. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I'm really into mechanically complex games like that. Like Elden Ring's great fun for just figuring out really weird movesets and
Yeah.
like armor combinations and that kind of stuff. And then that's a lot of the, because that's a game with a very weird and obscure narrative. A majority of the fun does come from, right, what do I want my setup to be? How do I want to play this game?
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't want to try and do some sort of like, right, let's try and do Elden Ring, the pen and paper game, and really capture the essence of how it feels.
Oh,
Like,
don't start me. I could do that.
But I mean in terms of like the actual pure mechanics of like weapon timings and all that kind of stuff, and how you would roll that out. Like, you could come up with something horrendous.
Yes, that's something that I would lose easily several days to. But yes, I possibly could. And again, I'm a fucking weirdo. I'm the kind of person that someone says, oh, I really like, also what's something that's not got an RPG system. If someone suggests me something, I'll make an RPG out of it just for the fuck of it, just at least talk about ideas for it. Someone suggests me something weird and wonderful, I can...
My knowledge of football, I was going to lead into that, but so my knowledge of like RPG games for everything is like, there are football RPGs and stuff on computers, and like I've played, you name it, baseball RPGs, boxing RPGs, like everything you could abstract into numbers. Somebody at some point has made some kind of like video game.
Yeah, I once sat down and tried to do, before, this is about 2-3 years ago now, before Darkest Dungeon actually started doing its board games, I literally tried to do how I would adapt one to the other. And I showed it to one of my friends who does game design. This is just, I let myself do it for an afternoon. It's like 4 or 5 hours of just scribbling nonsense ideas. And I handed it to them and just said, I made this the other day, tell me how crap it is. And they were like, I did game design, this is really good. Are you going to finish it? And I was like, no. I literally just did it to amuse my brain, because my brain likes mechanism. It likes saying that, this works. And, you could easily do things like, if you really wanted to do like FIFA the RPG, you could do it. It's just a case of what do you want it to do. And I think with that kind of thing, you'd probably do quite well with, just having a game of continuous dice rolls. Because football would basically just be, you have a football coloured d20, and you generally just do, you know, rolling for passing, rolling for this, rolling for that, rolling to strength, stuff like that, and you just have rolls against people and stuff like that, and it would work quite well.
This already exists. It's Football Manager.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is at its core. It's just not got a narrative element to it. That's the one thing that's like, you don't get any kind of storyline of what the players are and what's their tabloid life or any of that shit. You're just getting the pure numbers and then dice rolls when they're on the pitch.
They're cardboard cutouts with different hairstyles. Yeah, exactly. If I ever do have a calling, I'll be surprised. But I said I love sitting creating out RPG systems. I said to Sam, Violent Dragon Art or Violent Dragon GM, that at some point when they are done with moving house and everything, if they ever wanted to sit and we'll just have a weird stream where we just come up with an RPG engine for the fuck of it, I'm more than happy to do it. If anyone else wants to do that, I'm more than happy to do it as well. I'm just happy just to sit and give our RPG ideas, because I will contentedly sit and talk about building game engines and stuff like that, and it's not, you know, it's not something I can ever bother to do for profit or anything like that, but I'm happy to do it just for freelance for the fuck of it, because I enjoy doing it. And it's all about, you look at what actually interests in the game. It's like if someone said, for example, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a random thing. I mean, for example, like Honey Heist became massive because it was literally just an idea about, you know, you're a bunch of bears going to steal honey. And the one we did, we came up with, which is the Alcatraz, which is the one about you're all cats trying to escape a house. You know, it's a weird one. I don't think it's ever going to catch on, but it's a good idea in concept. And it's all just trying to find wonderful little ideas like that would work. And I think, as I said, if I ever trusted myself, which I really don't, I would love to do more of just randomly running one-shots of like Alcatraz and stuff like that, because I think it's got some great principles. I mean, AJ, for example, was the one that played a car, I think the last time we played Alcatraz, because he was playing Kit from the Knight Rider series. You know, it's like... But I think also it's because of I'm relatively adaptive as a GM. I'm very much like, do whatever the fuck you want, and I'll spin the world around you if I have to get it to fit. But yeah, as I said, I'm more than happy to just sit and do one shot, sit and do RPG ideas, sit and build engines.
I've been thinking that I need to try and pick it back up again, because I did re-listen back to the one time that I've DM'd, or GM, sorry, and done the Shadowrun thing for you, pretending with dice. And then, like, I really enjoyed that and would like to do it again, but it's there was a lot of planning that went into it, and we did it all in one session. Like I said to AJ the other day, it was a really rare instance where, like, we actually managed to do, like, a whole story thing in, like, one big sitting, and we don't really do that for a lot of the stuff on Pretending with Dice. We do kind of like sessions that are broken down into like moments, I guess, and it'll take normally like 3 or 4 recording sessions to get through an entire storyline, to get from like point A to B. And in this instance, within like 5 hours, I think we managed to do it. And that, like, the challenge of that, and as you say, rolling with the punches, I want to try it again, but it's getting, I don't know, the right setting and circumstance. I would quite like to do Shadowrun again and just return to that setting, because it was a laugh. Yeah,
you totally should do it. But one thing is just on after seeing, sure, I say most GMs don't function like that. I remember when we've done the podcast now for 5 and a bit years. And there are so many episodes we have that have been recorded that we've not put live yet, and they will be coming eventually, hopefully. I'm just back in touch with my therapist at the moment, so hopefully when it restarts, once I get a bit more grounded, I will start trying to get some editing done and get them out. But there's some really good episodes coming from those. But one of the things that when we started, there was a video of a guy talking about, this is one of the worst things that happened in RPG, and it was talking about how he was doing one of the the one where there's like 15 tables and they're all playing the same story. So that, and it's like, one of them is like, you go into this courtyard with a door at the end, and there's a statue in the middle, and as long as the players don't interact with the statue, everything's fine. But if they interact with the statue or try and steal things, a gem off the statue, then, you know, some eldritch creature rises and kills them all. And you're like, what? Why is that a thing? And he's like, oh, this one group, they tried to steal the gem and they're dead, so they're sitting there with nothing to do while everyone else is playing, and you're just like, that's not fun.
Yeah, that's a Dark Souls style approach, but without the respawn. That's
Yeah,
like, you let the players immediately get back to it. If you're going to kill the character, then do
Yeah.
what you do. Be like,
Yeah.
okay, let's just shoehorn somebody in. Let's get it done.
Yeah, I just don't understand this. I mean, you know, I understand this is the whole, you know, evil DM side, and I get that, but if you're gonna do, like when we did Halls of Chaos, for example, which is basically just, here's 15 death traps. If you get through from point A to point B, well done, but you're still going to go to the next one. And if you don't survive from point A to point B, you'll be regened in the door between the next B and A, if you know what I mean. Like, the door between the two of them, you just get regened, because the whole point of it was you're meant to experience the fun of trying to get through a death trap without worrying, you know, oh, I need to be, you know, serious, careful in case I actually do get killed by this thing. And it's like, if you let people just have the ability to just go, well, I know it'll probably kill me, but if I did this, could I get through it? And you just let them, you know, properly, you know, spill ideas and just go, oh, this, no, I'll try this and that, and just think about it the most imaginative ways possible. Well, that's basically, to me, the most fun you can get.
Narrative, I think, is it? Like, you can certainly have it where the dice rolls have to have impact.
Yes.
But ultimately, you want to have a satisfying pace and narrative, and like a conclusion, something that builds up. And you can't get to that a lot of the time with those kinds of games you described, with the guy where it's like, oh yeah, if you interact with this, then you're fucked automatically.
Yeah, this is why I don't like. I think it's called Song of Horror. It's a game on Steam, and it's a game about basically there's this Cthulhu-esque thing, and you find doors and can occasionally get caught and dead for no reason. But if you explore the wrong thing, you just die. And I'm like, okay.
It's game design from an era that's gone at this point. Like, they used to do that back in sort of SNES Mega Drive era, and even before that, where it's like, right, we're selling game guides. Even past that, there were RPGs and stuff where, like, things like Final Fantasy VII, getting a huge materia from the fucking rocket, you need to put in the sequence, and if you get it wrong 3 times, then you don't ever get it. To know that sequence, like, it's not in the game, I don't think. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that from that time that you think back and it's like, it's just frustrating, it's shit, it's not fun.
Yeah.
And to put that into something where you have the possibility of just allowing the player to have fun, and instead go, no, here, we're just going to put a stumbling block that you can't detect.
Yeah.
So, you stumbled over, I, the GM, get this brief moment of like, I win.
Yeah.
And what?
I mean, I've done several RPGs that have kind of have a one-shots ones that end with, you know, this happens, the door slams shut, you're dead. But it's the end that, you know, that happens, rather than halfway through and then go, right, well, you know, we're calling it early because you all did this. I don't get that as a style. But then again, I'm weird. I literally, as I said, when I run episodes of this, for example, I literally do bullet points and do this, then this, then this, and maybe that, and I'll just tie it all in. Whereas I know some people are literally, they will write down every little step. And yeah, this is the other problem I have, though, is that as I said, I ad-lib like 95% of everything I do. And I can never remember what the fuck I've ad-libbed. But sometimes I ad-lib something, then I have to go, fuck, I have to deal with that from now on. And I at least try and keep continuity from when I ad-lib something in, and I'm like, oh shit, I've got to keep bringing that up now.
Even from my one time of doing it, like, I had so much written out, so many things planned, and like you say, like, I'd kind of gotten a few tips from AJ, like, keeping it loose, not having, like, because I knew I didn't want to, like, just write the train tracks basically for people to walk down. Instead, it was like, here's a collection of places, here are like a broad ideas they might interact with, and then in the moment, just like thinking back, like the EastEnders story bit that I fucking did was like that was I didn't have that written down. Like,
yeah.
and again, like playing where we've obviously come up with all kinds of bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
the chattering horse head is one of the things where, like, in that moment, I'm like, well, okay, I've done some weird stuff with this horse. Now you've come up with some even stranger, entertaining thing that's come out of it.
Yeah. I mean, this is the other thing I don't really get. It's like, when you're... This is why I know this sounds a really poncy thing to think. This is why I describe myself as a storyteller rather than a DM. Because I'll start, and I'll say, this is what happens. And then you'll say something, Shiraz will say something, Tom will say something, Rowan will say something, Back will say something, Amy will say something, and I'll just weave that into it as it goes on. Whereas I've seen so many DMs, it's just, you're doing this. And the player can say, well, how about I do this different, that different? No. It's my story. No. And they just blinker straight line, and it's like there's no deviation, there's no interaction, there's no engagement, there's no sense of world building. And it just bothers me, because I'm just like, you're building something, especially when you're building like a podcast. See, if you're doing just, your own tabletop, that's fine, do you. But see, when you're doing it for a podcast or doing it for an entertainment medium,
yeah,
you should roll with what people have. You should roll with what your cast bring to it, because you get so much more of a like fleshed out story, and and you also engage them from doing it, because people are like, if for example you come up with an idea, or Amy comes up with an idea, or Shiraz and so on, and they say, I want to try this, and then we just start rolling with that and see where it goes. They're more engaged because they came up with the idea and they're feeling listened to and it's going somewhere. Everyone else is going, fucking hell, they did that, I can do that too, I'll bring weird shit to the table as well. And it just starts this massive cascade of fuckery, but in a really good way. Whereas I've just seen so many, especially when I'm not going to say who, but I've listened to a couple of podcasts over the years that literally is just, a player will start going one way and this person will say, good, well, everyone else is experiencing this, you can do what you want, I'm not going to talk about what you experienced, I'm going to carry on with everyone else, and then if you want to walk back to where everyone else is, then we'll bring you back in.
Mm-hmm.
And they just do it that, and you're just like, fucking hell, there's not and I'm going to do my one pet peeve I have when I listen to podcasts, which is probably going to make me sound like an absolute cunt, and I apologise if it does. It's ones that DMs do 90% of the talking.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that bothers me, when it's things like, it's literally just like, you walk into the room and you think, well, what should DMs do? They should do like, you walk into the room and there's a majestic, mosaic in front of you with all this fountain, water's flowing, and the blue-green water on the ground. And do you want to go look at the fountain? Yes. Great. You're walking up the fountain, you look at the fountain, you see all this wonderful thing, you see fish in the river, and it's like, do you want to go outside? No. Good. You don't go outside, you stay in here, you look at the fountain, look at the fish, you look at this, and you're just like, let them fucking talk.
That's it.
Let them... If they this is why I do very minimal describing of things, because I go like, there's something in the middle of the room, there's something here, something there, and if for example you say, oh, I want to look at the table, I want to look at the fountain, I want to look at the box, I'll then embellish what's there, because it's all about what your engagement is, about what you like, rather than just being, I'm going to spend 20 minutes describing the room, and then the players literally have a chance to say yes or no, and then you'll go off on another tangent. Because that drives me absolutely fucking insane when I listen to DMs that do that, and I know it's just a me thing, but I literally, when I'm like, please let your players talk, let your players say what they like, what they're hooked by, because that's where the story is. It's not where you think it is, it's where they think it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my one pet peeve. I'll stop gibbering about it now, but that's the one thing that really annoys me.
No, I get it 100%. So I think we've kind of gone all the way around it at this point, but it is just, player agency is the entire point. Like, you're not playing the game. If the game is playing you, then it's the Stanley Parable.
Yes.
But, like, then you can play that and get the point. You don't want to, ultimately, those GMs are acting like the narrator in real life, and you wouldn't want to be that guy's friend. That's like...
Yeah. I feel we've kind of rambled shite for a while, so we'll ask, has anyone got any more questions in chat before we probably go back to repeating the same thing over and over again. Is there anything you'd like to see that would make it more Dragon Age-y? Because that is the question.
I don't have any particular wants or needs in that respect. I'm completely happy with the tone and what have you that has been set so far.
That's good. I said this is probably going to go up on the YouTube, and it's going to probably be like the most confused episode. Anyone listens going like, what? Why are they rambling? Because everything's broken and we're just rambling. Yeah.
Hopefully it's been interesting enough. A little bit of a peek behind the curtain, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I guess if there's no more questions, then we'll just have to wind it up slightly early. I say slightly early, it's still been an hour and a half. But yeah, yes, it's kind of awkwardness and moving stuff on. Let me just see who else is on. Okay. But yeah, apologies that this has not been your usual RPG episode, folks. Hopefully everything kind of comes back somewhat so into the fold for next week, where we'll continue the story. We'll probably slightly restart the story from the beginning again, but we'll be aware that at least we started at the beginning, so you'll get the same kind of start as we just had today. And hopefully by next week my webcam's working, everyone else is not dead or away somewhere or having power outages. Yeah, sorry, as I said, I'm kind of rambling to myself today a bit. But yes, we shall roll over, I think, to someone else to give them a bunch of people in their chat, because, you know, that's what you should do. Let us go and see who is on. Well, Stu's on. We're going to Stu. He's doing his Monkey Island game. It's always good to always be right back at the moment. Of course he is.
Damn it, Stu.
Damn it, Stu. Unless anyone else has anyone they would like us to roll into. Oh no, he's not been right back. He's just come back.
I'm surprised the cannibals weren't
So
here.
yeah, let us just roll into Mr. Stu. So yeah, thank you very much, folks, for being along today. Thank you for putting up with all the weird and wonderful nonsense. Hopefully next week you will get your usual RPG silliness. But until then, I wish you all the best rest of the weekend and the best rest of the week. Our next stream... Oh, sorry, Neil. Oh. Our next streams will be... there's Verlasten tomorrow night. There is Bar Trauma and hopefully some horror after on Tuesday. There might... One or both of them might be cancelled because I am coming back from Manchester on Tuesday, so I might be exhausted. Thursday will be more horror. Wednesday might be something. There might be something new on Wednesday. Because me and Belry are talking about doing Bloodborne again. So that might be this Wednesday, it might be next Wednesday, it might be a few Wednesdays down the line, but it's possibly going to be a Wednesday at some point. Yeah, Thursday's going to be horror, Friday's going to be Deep Rock and Phasmo, and then hopefully next Sunday will be more Dark Tide and everything will work this time. But yes, you all have a fantastic week. We will see you all next time, hopefully for the better. So until then, folks, you all take care. Let's go over and say hello to Mr. Stu. So yeah, good night, folks.
Bye-bye.